All right, let's go. Beginning of Perek Yazayin B'Siyata D'Shmaya. A little bit of Akdoma before we start. Very important Perek over here. Previously, in our previous Perek, we have been discussing specifically there are two types of Ava. Okay, let's get this understanding so we understand the two different types of Ava. There's the Ava number one, which is clearly in the heart, and then there's the Ava, which is hidden away in the brain but also exists in the heart. Now, we learned that when a person wants to develop an emistic relationship, an emistic emotion, which we were talking about how to, attach the wings to the mitzvah that the Rabbeinu Shem allows to soar up to Shemayim. So if you want to develop this emotion, it needs to be this hisponiness, this meditation on the gadlus Hashem, on the greatness of the Rabbeinu Shalom. Now the Heilige Tanya is going to tell us something very important. For those of you that were here from the beginning, you remember we said and we learned together the Shablat. The Shablat of the Sefer told us the Yesod of the whole Sefer. The Baal Tanya told us why he wrote the Sefer. And the entire writing of the Sefer was for the Pasuk, Ki Korov Elecha Adova V'Chole, we'll get to that. Which to show that the real love, the emistic love, is much closer than you think. Says the Baal Tanya in the Shablat, that's the ikar reason he wrote the Sefer. The whole Sefer is based upon that, which means right now he's going to explain a lot of that. As we go, let's go, Rabbi say. Ubazeh, with this, meaning that we learned in the previous parakim, Yuvan Mashakosov Estate Ki Korov Elecha Adova Ma'od B'Ficho V'Vovcha La'Soisoi, right? That pasuk that we know, that we mentioned a bunch of times, Ki Korov Elecha, it's closer to Adova Ma'od, very. B'Ficho, listen to the Lashonis, B'Ficho, with your mouth, or V'Vovcha, with your heart, La'Soisoi, that means to do. And this encompasses all of the three things that the Baal Tanya has been telling us so much about, Machshava, Dibur, and Maisa. So what he's telling you is seemingly it's much easier for a person, much closer to a person, because these are the things in your Rishus. If you remember, we've been discussing that a Beinani is someone that hasn't changed the inside. The inside has still got a lot of Yitzharas and Zachan and urges and pleasures and whatever that he wants. Oh, but he has changed. He's managed to control. He's steering. He's in control of the Machshava, Dibur, and Maisa, the three outer levushim which you have. And that is hinted in this pasuk. Right, hints to the Machshava Dibur Maisa, which is much quicker. It's easier for a person to control than we realize. Okay, and the emissaries, what he's now going to explain, is that we would perhaps understand that Beficha and La Soisoi is taka easy. We can figure it out. Right, get out of bed and daven shachris. Okay, it's hard, but get out of bed and daven shachris. Then you've got the Beficha La Soisoi. Bilvavcha is a little bit harder. To actually have a meaning that it comes from your heart, that it's emistic, that's harder. And that the Baal Tanya is telling us Ki Korov. Let's read. The Bilvavcha part is be'etzem against our nature. Because we know that our heart is drawn to many things that are not necessarily, mutter by the Torah, they're more likely osir by the Torah, right? And our heart is generally drawn to those things. For Torah nitzkis, that means the Maisa, it applies for everyone because the Torah is for everyone, for every generation, for every single person. Not so korov, not so easy, lahapech, to switch your heart from the Taivas Olam Hazeh to the Avos Hashem Emes. So the Gemara says, Brachas Lamed Gimel, Otu Yirim Ulsa Zutra Sahi. Right, the Gemara says it's famous about Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Right, Mar Shabbat Akecha Shem Emam Ki'im Li'yos Hashem. And the Gemara asks, what? All Hashem wants from you is to fear Him. The Gemara says, well, such a small thing to fear Him. It's not so small. It's the Gemara's kasha. For Kol Shekain Zuk the Baal Tanya, and that's what the Gemara is saying about Yira, so the Baal Tanya, but Kol Shekain Ava as well. That love is much harder. Because love means I have to completely turn away from all the pleasures of the world, from the pleasures that my heart is drawn towards, right? That's much, much harder. And therefore, it's not so korov. So what does it mean that it's korov? V'gam, Amr B'Seinu Zal, and the Gemara tells, again, it's a medrash, the tzadikim dafke libam b'rishusam. Unlike the Beinani, that we know that at the end of the day, his mind rules his heart, right? That's what it is. When it comes to a tzaddik is completely in control of his heart. So Be'etzim the Baal Tanya over here is asking, let's just summarize what we've done until now to make it clear. He's asked two kashas. Kasha number one, it's not so korov to be ma'ora your heart to turn into emistik ava, right? Because it's against our nature. It's against the way Rebbeinu created us. And number two, not everyone has this burning ava for mitzvahs. Let's continue. Ella, the last soisoi, practical, that's the action, says that the ava brings a person to doing the mitzvahs alone. That means the desire of this heart that's generating, right? That's in this hidden places of the heart. But it's a very low level of minimal love. Even if it's not this burning, flamey fire. This is easy for anyone. It's korov to anyone that has a brain in his head that thinks about it. Why? Why is it so easy if you have a brain that you can think about it? Your brain, your thoughts, your contemplation, your meditation, so to speak, is in your rishus. You could think about whatever you want. Those who are familiar, there's a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Right? A Yid who went through the Holocaust, went to Auschwitz, and he talks about his experiences over there. And he came out at the end of it with a whole mahalach in therapy, in psychology, that they use very much of this idea of that your brain is in your rishus. They can do whatever they want to you in your physical, they can torture you, they can hurt you. You can't, it's not rishusai. But your brain is yebi rishusai. That's something you could think about. That's what the Baal Tanya is telling us over here, that every person has the ability to be nisboinin in whatever he wants. When a person can think about the Gaddas Hashem, it gives birth. We spoke about that, male, female, and giving birth, right? It gives birth. This is for everyone. You could choose at the end of the day to think about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's awesomeness. You may not be able to choose your feelings, but you can choose to think about the Rebbeinu Shalom's gadlus, even if it doesn't generate this fiery love that he talks about. But at the end of the day, what it does generate is the willingness to do the mitzvahs, the action that follows afterwards. Okay, that's what he's saying. Ki hayoim la soisom, today is to do ksiv shayoim olam ha'maisa. Right now in the olam ha'maisa, with the olam of doing, v'dafka ulamacha the kabbalah schar. That means this world is about doing kamoshes b'makam acha, which we'll see Be'ez Hashem Perik Lamazayin all the way down over there. V'hamoyach, and the brain shalet b'tivay v'tolad al cholav asmani shebalev, and the moyach has the ability by nature to be fully in charge of the left side of the heart, piv on your mouth, so therefore, if it starts with the brain, this is again the Chabad idea, right? All begins in the brain, and it goes disperses to the rest of the body, which means that if a person has the ability, and he's saying everyone has the ability, don't say, I can't do these things, because you can have the ability to do that, and once you do that, it might not produce the fiery love, which is the most halavai, but it will produce the willingness to do, to accomplish, to action. Imloi, mishu Rasha be'emes. Unless the guy's a be'emes to Rasha. K'may Rebbeinu Zal. This is once again a medrash as well. Sherishoyim him b'shus libam. Ve'in libam b'shusam klal. Rishoyim have absolutely no restriction, no hold on their leave. This is Ve'edibra Toba Mesim Edish B'Chayim Kurim Mesim Ki Be'emesi Efshel Rishayim Lahaskal Avad Hashem. The emes is that these Rishayim, if a person is in such a category, he can't really start serving Hashem. Beli she asked to tshuva ala ovar. He first has to tshuva on everything he previously did. The Shabar Klipois, to break the klippers. She Mosok V'Havdil. We've spoken about this when a person does an Aveira, it brings a certain distance. So these Rishonim, Rahman and have done too many of these things. They're so far, they already have a Mechitza Shel Barzel between them and Hashem. There's a lot for them to break down that barrier. Al Yedei, Shviras Libo, Merias Nafshal Chatov, the way to do it is to break the heart and the bitterness of their soul on the Aveiras, Kamishkos of Zoya, Apostle Gziv Chedekim, Ruach Nishbar, Lev Nishbar, V'chulei, Shal Yedei Lev Nishbar, it's through a broken heart, Nishbar Ruach Tuma, the Sitra Acha. That is the way to break the Ruach HaTuma of the Sitra Acha, Ein Sham Parash Pinkos Dafram Mem, by Vayikra over there, where it says clearly over there that the Zohar Kodesh tells us when a person contaminates himself with Aveira, it brings himself a tremendous Ruach HaTuma, which rules over his desires in that case over there. And that's why When you have a Beis Hamikdash, Beis Hashem, later on today, B'tzat Tishma would have a Beis Hamikdash, we'll be able to bring a korban, but without that, then it's very hard to do it without that. Ein Shom Desire. Vihi, let's just finish off the parak. B'chinas tshuva tato. This is actually the lowest level of tshuva. Lahalos Hashem tato lakimo min filoso shenofla lachitzoinim. That means the name of Hashem, Yud Kivovke, we're talking about specifically, a person can elevate it from a fall. Shus soid golus hashchina kamayim rabbeinu zal golu le'edom shchina imoim. That means even though the Shechina is likened to the Makom HaMikdash, the Gemara tells us that Klal Yisrael at the end they want to be in Golus. So when they went into Golus, so the Shechina Kaviyachol went into Golus with us. And that means the Rabbanu Shalom is found together with us as well in the Golus. So it means Golu le'edom Shechina imoim. The Shechina went with us. The Haidu. That means when a person, this is why he's making practical. When a person does a Maisa Edom, that means he does an Aveira. He does something he's not meant to do. Moivit umamshik l'shom b'chinas v'nitzos l'kus hamachayas nefesh ruach l'shom shaloi. That means at the end of the day, the Golus is with us. The Shechina can also be with us when we are doing an Aveira. So b'shas Maisa, look at Tomer Devarim, he speaks all about this. Tomer Devarim, the Ramak speaks about this by Riches, about how when a person does an Aveira, the Rabbanu Shalom is giving him the koyach to do the Aveira. He's giving him the life to do the Aveira, and he doesn't take it away from him. Right? It's an unbelievable thing. But over here, the Tanya is telling us, you're basically schlepping the Shechina to your Aveira. When you're doing a Maisa Issa, you're schlepping the Shechina together with you in that case. You're exiling the Shechina to that specific Makom. I'm in the Boshim by Benevesh and Bahabas, Maklipa Shaliboy, Shibachala, Smolay, Malachas by Baoide Russia, Omshelis, Beir Ktanashalai. The Nefesh Ruach and Hashama, Kvushim Begoila Etzla, and your Nefesh Ruach and Hashama is completely held captive to this vicious. He eventually a person can keep standing, which he's going to explain all the way. This is actually in the Geras HaTshuva, where he discusses more about how to get through Tshuva. But that's not, I want it to a bit too fast in that. The Ikki Yisod is what he's telling us is like this. The Ikki Yisod of Perek Zayin is, but at least what we can understand practically, is the beginning part. What he's telling us is a regular normal person, to have this fiery love for mitzvahs and Torah is very difficult for the regular normal Beinani. But a person can contemplate, can really think about the Rabbanu Shalom, can really, try to hisboineness of the Gadol of Hashem, and that might not bring this great gewaldige geschmack which we're looking for in Halavai. Maybe it does, but it does bring a person to Maisa, to Asiya, and that's why it's the Kikor Belecha Davam Oy Bevicha Vavchalasai. So it means that since your brain is in your Rishus, and you have the right and the ability to think about whatever you want, Mimele, you can think about Gadol Hashem, and when you do that, even if it doesn't produce the best type of love, which is Rish Be'esh, these flames of fiery love, okay, but it does produce the ability to actually practically do that mitzvah, which is La Soisei, which starts with Vavcha. B'Hashem tomorrow, B'Skat Tishmaya, join us, Perek Yud Ches.